A Martinez knee coming, and it makes it a guarantee. The Niners come on the road to New York and upend the Giants 34-24. They ground and pound their way to 6-3, and they avenge the loss last week to Houston with a 10-point win over the Giants.
The 49ers move to 6-3, 34-24, the final over the New York Giants. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you as the Niners pick up a big win in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It was an all-around good performance, I thought. We'll talk more about what the defense looked like in the second half, as they did allow a couple of scores there at the end of the game. 4 consecutive drives resulted in touchdowns there for the Niners and the New York Giants. But Mac Jones, a hell of a performance by him, started the game 14 of 14. You end up with Christian McCaffrey going well over 100 yards from scrimmage yet again. He had a hell of a day out of the backfield. Even Brian Robinson getting involved. The Niners were really, really good, 4 or 5 in the red zone. They picked up many first downs. They were over 50% on third down. They got off the field on third down defensively. Pretty damn good win all around, I'd say, JD.
Yeah, nice win, to be sure, especially given the way that the game started with the 49ers giving up that touchdown on the opening series. Yeah. It was not looking good. In fact, it looked like an extension of last week in Houston right off the rip, but something we've discussed a ton. It's the 49ers need to be led by their offense, and I think in a big moment, the 49ers go and they answer that opening drive touchdown by the Giants with one of their own, and I give Kyle Shanahan credit right off the rip for going for that 4th and 1 when the 49ers could have punted the ball right back to the Giants after the Giants had taken the 7-0 lead. They convert. Big catch from Jordan Watkins. They go 12 plays, 68 yards there. And then it was the defense from that point up until the game was basically decided. The Giants did cash in a couple of those touchdowns at the end, but the defense, after that opening series touchdown, punt, leading up to the end of the first half there after the Giants forced that fumble that could have been something that flips the game. But the Giants at that point were pretty inept. The Niners get a stop. They can't make the field goal. And then the 49ers come out and do what they have to do to put the game away in the second half. So all in all, real strong win. I think this is a game we talked about in the pregame they had to have, and they get it to improve to 6-3 here. Didn't come completely without a cost, unfortunately, it looks like, with Mykel Williams. Man, they just can't get out of a game unscathed, but a big win nevertheless.
Well, it looked like they were close to getting out of the game unscathed, right? I mean, it looked like they were gonna be able to avoid any major injury. At one point, Upton Stout left to be evaluated for a concussion, but he returned, and then four minutes remaining in the game, Mykel Williams goes down, grabbing his knee. He was banging the sides of his helmet with his hands clenched, is what Jack Smith had said on the broadcast. He did walk off the field under his own power, but Kyle Shanahan said after the game, JD, that they are fearing that it's an ACL, and they'll find out more when they get some imaging tomorrow.
Yeah, saw that, and unfortunate if that's the case, because, man, just what a blow to this 49ers defensive line. What a blow personally for Mykel Williams, who's had such a solid beginning to his NFL career in his rookie season. And it just, I mean, your first-round pick and your top 2 players on defense, potentially to lose them essentially in the first half of the NFL season is just, it's just, man, the blows just keep on coming, even when this team continues to find ways to win. And I think, this is one of those games where you take a step back a little bit, at least initially as we start getting into it. And, the Niners are 6-3, despite losing Warner, Bosa, potentially Mykel Williams. Mac Jones is 5-2. As the 49ers starting quarterbacks. You've done this with 7 of the 9 games playing your backup quarterback. And the 49ers also start with 6 of the first 9 away from Levi Stadium, and yet they're still in this position at 6-3. And by the way, equal their win total from 2024 when they ended up 6-11 halfway through the season here, now just 9 games in.
Well, they've got the biggest game of the season ahead of them, a chance to sweep the Rams on the season schedule here after they won Week 5 in Los Angeles. As banged up and battered and as bruised as they were able to get a win on a short week. The Rams had their bye last week. They're up 7-0 right now on the Saints. They come to town next Sunday to take on the 49ers in a game that could feature the return of Brock Purdy after a hell of a performance for Mac Jones. Now, we've talked a lot about this. Do you just get Brock Purdy healthy 100%, make sure he's good to go? That said, was Mac Jones not healthy enough to take a knee there at the end of the game? I mean, was he that banged up and battered that he couldn't drop to a knee there? What was that about at the end?
I think they wanted to get Martinez a snap at the end there, and for his NFL career, because the thought is, I think maybe they kind of know, hey, Brock is probably
maybe this is it for you to address
potentially wouldn't be active or potentially maybe even on the roster anymore, considering the fact that the 49ers are going to be looking to maybe clear some more roster spots if they make some more moves here at the deadline. If you have Brock and Mack healthy, there may no longer be a need to have Martinez be a member of the active 53. So I think that could be kind of a ceremonial deal there potentially at the end of the game to give Martinez a nod for jumping into a tough situation, knowing that he was a play away here really for the last month and a half to being able to have to go in one of these games.
49ers win at 34-24. Going back to that opening drive, you mentioned it. I mean, maybe the play call of the day, the 49ers go for it on 4th and 1. They're at their own 41-yard line when they do that. I mean, after giving up a 10-play opening drive touchdown, was it 64 yards or something? 64-yard, 10-play touchdown drive is what opened the game, the Theo Johnson touchdown, and the Niners keep it going. The QB sneak with Mack there. Tell us what you were thinking at that play, because a ballsy call there by Kyle, but it kept the drive alive. It results in a 12-play, 68-yard touchdown drive. Christian McCaffrey with a TD catch there to tie it.
It felt like a must-have in the moment, and typically I'm let the game play out kind of a guy. It's early, but just I think you almost have to go back to just how poorly the defense played last week against Houston, and it just felt like the Niners needed some kind of a jolt there. They needed the tone to be put on the offense to set for the remainder of the game, and so I kind of liked the gutsiness of it at that point. I mean, if you punt that thing back to the Giants and the Giants go down and maybe score again, I think we're looking at a completely different afternoon for the Giants, in that game at MetLife Stadium. So I just think to have the guts to do it, I thought it was one of the biggest early plays of the game, that decision. Not a lot of coaches would do it. They pick it up, and it ends up leading to the 12-play, 68-yard drive of their own. Jones finding Christian McCaffrey, and they end up tying the game. And again, it was pretty much Niners taking control with the defense from there. But the offense today, so much of the chatter has been, how can this offense lead the way with so many injuries on the defense? And I feel like this is really, this game and the Rams game to me feel like the two games where the defense really stepped up in a big way to make things happen, and it was necessary.
Yeah, there are some things to tighten up on the back end. I mean, you didn't like the back-to-back touchdown drives, 7 plays, 65 yards, and then 9 plays, 69 yards, both going for touchdowns. And, dude, Jackson Dart may really be a problem. I mean, he is mobile. Tim Ryan was saying he's got moxie when he runs the ball, but he shot through at one point for a couple of big gains that led them into scoring range, and he scampered in for a 6-yard touchdown. He looked better than I anticipated. I haven't watched a ton of him this year. I wasn't real high on him, but he looked impressive considering how many of his weapons are gone. He even lost his center mid-game, JD.
And I mean, you talk about the moxie, and T-Rock mentioned it. I mean, he's looking for contact.
Yeah.
To the point that you don't really, I think, want your starting quarterback to be looking for contact. But the Giants, after that first drive, their best offense of the game until the 49ers basically had it in hand there was Jackson Dart running the football, Jackson Dart taking off, designed runs, whatever it was. And there were a couple of plays where, I mean, if I was a New York Giants fan, I'd be like, damn, like don't put your head down, young fella, because he was almost initiating on some of those plays, which is pretty crazy. But to that point, he does seem to have the attitude and the edge you want in a young quarterback. And I thought the Niners did a really good job of making him a passer in the pocket for the bulk of the game and not really letting him escape and make the off-schedule plays that he's become somewhat known for here in the early part of his career. And I think that's what allowed, with a lot of the guys that they have out, the offense for the most part to not really be able to function throughout the course of the afternoon.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The 49ers win at 34-24. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The trade deadline goes down on Tuesday. The Niners are 6-3. They fear now that they've got a torn ACL with their first-round pick, Michael Williams. They'll get imaging on that tomorrow, and we'll get more information. Is this team good enough to go in and make some more moves? 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Reaction to the victory today. The Niners do not come out unscathed. Michael Williams goes down, but Christian McCaffrey, a heck of a performance in today's game where he goes. He leads all receivers, by the way. 5 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown. Also, 28 carries for 106 and a touchdown. The Niners carried it 39 times. They now improve under Kyle Shanahan to 57-8 when they carry the ball more than 30 times in a game on the ground. We'll talk more about this one. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627, the number to call and the number to text. We are streaming YouTube, twitch.tv/thesportsleader, KNBR.com, and the The Sports Leader app. Plenty more to come The Niners win it over the New York Giants in New York. They're coming home 6-3 on the Sports Leader.
It's a great feeling. You know, I think we worked really hard this week. We had a good week of preparation and came out and wasn't perfect, and we'll correct those mistakes. But I think this team's pretty urgent right now. I think it's been good to come back from losses with big wins, but I think with this team, it's important that we take a win like this, learn from it, get better, but just continue the momentum into this next week.
As Christian McCaffrey, 49ers running back, 2 touchdowns for him today, led all receivers and carried it 28 times, over 100 yards again on the ground here for Christian McCaffrey. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners won it 34-24. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. The number to call and the number to text if you want to get involved in any of the conversation. Let's start with our difference maker of today's game, JD. The difference maker is sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today, or at BenjaminMoore.com. I think you got to start with Christian McCaffrey and Mac Jones. I mean, huge performances from them. Mac Jones on that opening drive was as sharp as you could ask for to start the scoring for the 49ers. He was 7 of 7, 59 yards and a touchdown on the opening drive. In the first half, JD, he goes 14 of 14, 143, 2 touchdowns. And what we thought was an interception, I thought for sure it was a pick. They ultimately rule it a fumble, I guess, on that play before the end of the first half. We'll talk more about that, but it's got to be the effectiveness of the offensive line and the poorest run D of the New York Giants. It's so funny how good they are at getting to the quarterback and how bad they are at stopping the run. Over 200 yards allowed on the ground. Last week, they give up 39 carries on the ground. This week, McCaffrey over 100. He's got to be the difference maker yet again.
Yeah, he's got to be, and I think I would go with Mac.
Okay, go with Mac, yeah.
And the 49ers, at the end of the first quarter, have had – they had more rushing yards in this game than they had all of last week at the end of the first quarter. But, yeah, I mean, you laid it out, 14 consecutive completions to begin the game before the 49ers and Mac Jones ends up with an incompletion. Potential for that fumble to have flipped the game, but I thought that was another key turning point in that the 49ers defense was able to hold the Giants to a field goal attempt. There was a little of ineptitude by the Giants offense on that short series right before halftime. I thought the Niners got a little greedy in attempting to go for points there, already up 2 scores and getting the football to begin the third quarter because they had won the toss and deferred to begin the game. It turns into a turnover, but the 49ers able to get off the field with the missed field goal, and the Giants subsequently boot off the MetLife Stadium field and into their locker room at the half.
Yeah.
But, yeah, CMC and Mac are definitely the two at the top of the list, but I got to go Mac. I mean, 14 for 14, and we talked about it on the pregame, Copes, throwing the ball early to come back to the run as the game went on, and I felt like that was exactly what the 49ers did, and they were able to do it. Some quick, short passes, and Mac was on point. And I think he set the tone so Christian McCaffrey could close the door as the game went on.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it wasn't just Christian McCaffrey closing the door. How about the running performance at the end of the third quarter where they ran it 8 consecutive times, and then they bring in Brian Robinson, who we finally saw the sort of rhythm and bruise that like Detroit has, where Christian McCaffrey, sure, he can bowl over you and he can find and sliver and get skinny through a lot of those holes, and he did so in spades today. But we were looking to have a different pace when Brian Robinson was added to the roster when they traded for him right at the beginning of the season. They've used him. He's been great in the kick return game in the last couple of weeks. Today, certainly his biggest performance, a big 18-yard trucking bulldoze, like truck stick-like run into the end zone, a Madden-like truck stick touchdown there. Are we going to see more of this, you think? Because if you recall, back in 2023, when the Niners, actually it might have been 2022, when the Niners made their run to the NFC Championship, Elijah Mitchell kind of became the closer for them at the end of games, where Christian McCaffrey was your guy for the first 3 quarters, and then they'd split him out wide. They'd kind of spell him a bit in the fourth quarter. If they got a big 2-score lead, you'd see a lot of Elijah Mitchell at the end of games. How important is it for Brian Robinson, now that we're midway through the season, he's entrenched in the offense, he understands the system and the playbook, that he's going to be a part of this regularly week to week to not just spell McCaffrey, but to be one of those guys that can bulldoze over a linebacker or a DB when they knew the run was coming and couldn't stop it. It was like 9 straight runs for the Niners.
Yeah, it was huge and impactful, and I don't know whether it was matchup based. I mean, something we saw what the Eagles were able to do against the Giants. I think the Niners coming into this thing thought they could run it, especially as the game went on. So I don't know if it was maybe more matchup based in terms of getting Robinson out there, but I do think Robinson the last few games, when he's gotten opportunities, has looked more and more comfortable in the 49ers offense, and maybe that's why we hadn't seen as much of him. I mean, you look at this game, we talk about it, though. It's interesting. Still 5 carries for 53 yards. He breaks off the 18-yarder, and he ends up going for 10.6 a tote. And that stretch where they went Robinson was part of what I felt was a put away kind of a drive for San Francisco. 9 plays, 76 yards to go up 27-10. It was the first time they were up 3 scores at that point in the game, and it really felt like, all right, ball game over. So it was only 5. Like, we've seen him have 8, 9 carries in some of these games, yet when you're able to break off a run the way Robinson was able to break off and really have an impact the way he was, on those final 3 plays of that drive, it feels like he was a bigger part of it because he was in terms of production, even if he wasn't necessarily in terms of total carries.
Well, and he went 10.6 per carry, 5 carries, 53, and the touchdown that long of 18. So, I mean, I'd say that was a difference maker, Robinson being able to spell McCaffrey a bit. Then he came in and just kind of closed it out on those final 2 drives. I mean, he had 50 of the 60 yards on the Niners' last touchdown drive where he gets in after the 39-yard catch, takes it upfield after a good return from Brian Robinson following the touchdown of the Giants to make it, what was that at that point? I think it made it 34-17, and then the Niners go up 34. Excuse me, it was 27-17. That touchdown made it 34-17. McCaffrey scampering in on the 3-yard touchdown run. How about this, though? Just the second reception for a touchdown by a wide receiver this season. We did talk about this before the game, that Jauan Jennings had the only receiving touchdown of the year by a wide receiver on the 49ers. Happened week 2, which is something we talked about throughout the year. The rushing touchdown was kind of stale at one point. They couldn't get into the end zone on the ground. They weren't going for 100 on the ground individually. They weren't running the ball well. And then they weren't getting interceptions. Still no turnovers. They did get to the quarterback a bit today, but Jauan Jennings found the end zone for the second receiver touchdown of the year.
And Jauan Jennings looked like a much more impactful player than we've seen
healthier
him
today.
Recently. Yeah, he did. He looked much more like the Jauan Jennings that we've come to know and 49er fans have come to love over the time he's been with San Francisco. So, yeah, he looked healthier. It didn't seem as forced, and he was just going up and naturally making the catch. So to your point, I think health probably was a lot to do with it. I know that was a talking point during the week, that Jennings was getting a little bit healthier, and the belief was that he could be more productive for the 49ers. I don't think they can move him, whether he's happy or not. And for me, a lot of the thought process in terms of, like, do you move Jauan Jennings because he's unhappy and the like? To me, you can't do that when you don't know exactly when Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall are coming back. Right, and I would say, yeah, and Pearsall specifically, like it seems like Pearsall is still a week away from being a week away. Like, it doesn't seem like Pearsall's, because typically the Niners, all right, a guy comes back and he's limited, and then they give him one more week, and then maybe he's full that second week when they're coming. So I feel like Pearsall's still a couple of weeks away, which means you've got to get through the next couple of weeks. We know Ayuk at this point, there's still no formal timeline in terms of what the target is for his return. So to me, you can't be giving up on Jauan Jennings at this particular point in time. And he's also had the chemistry with Brock Purdy through the years too. And if Brock Purdy is on track to be able to come back and start playing as soon as next Sunday, I don't think you want to be taking away somebody that a lot of the time has been Brock Purdy's, among his most trusted receivers. So I just don't think you can move him. Maybe today is the kind of game that can keep everybody a little bit happier with each other for at least the remainder of this season. I still think it's unlikely he's not on the Niners in 2026, talking about Jennings, but I still think Jauan Jennings is a player the 49ers need between now and the end of this regular season.
I'm with you. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. 34-24, the Niners win it on the road in New York. They come on home at 6-3. They're 4-2 on the road, by the way. And again, their starting quarterback, Brock Purdy, has played 2 games. I want to talk about the turning point in this game, and it happened right before they go to halftime, where the 49ers turn the ball over, and then they end up getting a missed kick from Graham Gano. We'll talk more about that. I think that could have made a huge difference in where this game was going. The Niners led it 17-7. Could have been 17-10 as they got the ball back after halftime. We'll talk more about this when the Niners are 6-3. They got the biggest game of the year against the LA Rams next Sunday. The Rams, by the way, right now lead it 13-3, 7:50 to play in the first half down at SoFi against the New Orleans Saints. More to come. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. The Niners get a win. Are they getting busy at the deadline, which goes down on Tuesday? More to come on the Sports Leader.
I never really think about it like that, to be honest. Just because it's more about my eyes in the right spot, but that is cool. And I mean, honestly, right before half, we had a touchdown, and I just took too long and didn't step up on that fumble or whatever it was. So we really were going to score there. So I was pissed about that, but just trying to keep moving the offense down the field however we can do it. And what a great job by the offensive line with the running game and limited sacks.
That's Mac Jones following his victory, the Niners' victory over the New York Giants, 34-24. Mac started the game 14 for 14, 7-7 on the opening drive, and picked up a big first down on 4th and 1 at their own 41-yard line. Mac finishes 19-24, 235, 2 passing touchdowns. You know, JD, I was just thinking as we went to a commercial break, I wonder what Krug thinks of this game. I come on back, and there he is, just sitting on our screen right there on YouTube, twitch.tv/thesportsleader, thesportsleader.com, and the app. Krug, what's going on, man? Nice win for the Niners on the road, a high watermark in terms of points, and when they need the offense to carry them, it's finally showed up. How you doing, bro?
Doing great. I thought Mac Jones was really, really good. I mean, perfect at halftime. Just an incredible first half. He can process. I mean, he's just playing very, very well. And 49ers, that first drive, it's like, where were they? Did they, it's almost like they didn't hit their alarm clock. I mean, that first drive looked just like the Houston game. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to lose to this Giants team. And they get to that 4th and 1. And, just the fact that Shanahan was, thinking initially, it's like, well, do I go for it? Do I punt? I mean, you could tell. I mean, he knows the same deal that we knew, which is you fall behind 14 points to this D-line, you got a real problem. If you can stay even on the scoreboard, you're going to beat this team 9 out of 10 times because they cannot stop the run. So that 4th and 1 was a crucial call. And I thought that was a gutsy call. The Niners obviously converted. They went down and scored, and pretty soon they had 14 on the board, and the game had a much different vibe after that.
What did you think of the Niners' ability to really, throw a lot of quick passes early in the game and then come back to the run as the game went on and use that as the put away against this Giants defense?
I kind of think that they, kind of buried the lead. I think they got a little cute, to be honest, JD. I mean, this team is a terrible run defense. This is one of the worst run defenses we've seen in years. The Niners didn't really commit to the run to their last couple drives. And look what happened when they did. I mean, that the last 2 drives they committed to running McCaffrey and Robinson, and they thoroughly dominated. So, I know Shanahan likes to pass to set up the run. But in this situation, with them being so bad against the run, I thought the Niners were a little delinquent in getting to it. But you know what? It worked.
Talking to Larry Krueger here as the Niners beat the Giants 34-24, 6-3. They come home now. The big thing we're all waiting to find out now, Krug, is the status of Mykel Williams. I mean, just one more big-time injury. They lose, of course, Bosa and Fred Warner, the two biggest defenders they have. This is your first-round draft pick. He's having a nice rookie season in terms of setting the edge, and he's been big for them in the run game and stopping the run, and that's something they were drafting for that need. He goes down with about 4 minutes left. He left under his own power and walked to the locker room after being evaluated in the blue medical tent. But Kyle did say after the game they fear it could be an ACL. After they get some imaging, we'll know. Does this change in your mind how they go about the deadline now at 6-3?
Well, it has to. I mean, this guy. Well, first of all, there is no giving up. So
no.
Anybody who, if you got the give up on your play sheet, you might as well just throw that one away.
It's the stand pat versus the aggressively hunt to buy, right?
Yeah, I just think that when you look at the number of snaps that this player plays for you, you need coverage more now than ever because you just lost a guy that he's a versatile piece. He can play inside. He can play outside. You're covered when you have a guy who can play inside and outside. So. I would say that probably makes Arden Key more attractive to them because he's a guy that can play inside and outside. I do think the 49ers, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's be honest about this. The Niners are in it to win it, and the Super Bowl's here. They know it. And John Lynch has popularized the midseason trade. John and Kyle are enormously competitive. He's going to make a deal. It's just a matter of, is he going to make a big deal? Does he need to make a, I think you may be able to make a pretty good argument that you need volume more than you need that one guy. Like if you could get Trey Hendrickson for a 3rd-round pick, but you could get Jermaine Johnson and Michael Clemens, what do? You may want to think about volume here just because you're losing so many guys and there's still a lot of there's a lot of real estate left before the end of the year. You got to get to the finish line.
Well, and it's going to be interesting because I think what they do between now and Tuesday and the deadline, I think, is going to be an indicator of to just how much they believe, not how much they believe, that's probably poorly phrased, but what they believe the ceiling for this team this season to be. And I think if it's, more moves along the lines of, going and getting somebody like a Keon White, versus, a scenario where you look to go get, maybe some of the bigger names, a Trey Hendrickson or others that are out there. I think it's probably going to be the lesser moves, and it may be more in terms of sheer number like you're talking about, Larry. But I still think, and, you look at this thing, 6-3 is great. But do you really think this team is has a Super Bowl contender level as their ceiling? I just think you have to be honest about it if you're the front office. And, look, they're having a great year to this point. They're 6-3 considering everything. I think it's a super positive way to look at it, and maybe you do need some help to get to, to make sure you get to 10 and can fight for the division or at least get in as a wild card. But I think the true tell is going to be what level they look to do something at here come Tuesday afternoon.
Well, I mean, if today is any indication, then go for it. I mean, the Lions lost at home to the Vikings, and the Vikings,
That's
had
fair.
JJ McCarthy, and the Lions' offensive line is not good, and Goff's there, doesn't have a real backup, and he got sacked 5 times today. The Packers are not world beaters. They just lost at home to the Carolina Panthers. The Falcons, are very Jekyll and Hyde. The Commanders are not the same, are not a same team as they were a year ago. I think everybody in the Eagles lost to this Giants team just not that long ago. So 3 weeks ago. So I think everybody's kind of fallible. And the way I would look at it is this: you haven't won the Super Bowl in 30 years. There's people walking around who are 28 years old that have no idea what the Niners look like winning a Super Bowl. You need to. That's a problem. You need to overcome that. The other thing is, let's be honest about football. Football's violent, and football's not for long. And if you said to me, give me an over-under on seasons for Trent, I'd probably, or Kittle, or Bosa, as far as big-time players, I would say they got about a year or a year and a half left. I don't think 3-4 years from now, I don't think you're going to see any of those guys in football. And so you got them all on the same team right now. I mean, obviously Bosa's out for the year, but I mean, CMC ain't getting better. Trent ain't getting better. Kittle ain't getting better. None of these guys are getting better. So, Bryce Huff ain't getting better. So I just think that, go for it. It's a down year. There's no team that absolutely stands out. Heck, you have a quarterback that showed today that he can really process, and you got another guy who's already played with tremendous poise against Mahomes and Reed in the ultimate game. So you got a pretty good idea that you got a quarterback that can play on Super Bowl Sunday, and you got a conference that's anybody's game, and the Super Bowl's played at your place. I think you got to do something. Your team's fought like crazy to get to 6-3. I think you got to do something. I don't know. You're not trading your number 1 pick, but I think you got to consider trading a day 2 pick if you can get a significant piece before Tuesday.
Crew, just another thought for you on this game as the Niners beat the Giants 34-24 in New York. They're coming home 6-3. They're now 57-8 when they run the ball 30 or more times under Kyle Shanahan. And a big part of that today, in my mind, Brian Robinson. He's had a couple of huge kick returns and punt returns in the last few weeks and set them up. I mean, they set him up today for the Christian McCaffrey 39-yard grab before they score their final touchdown. Is this going to be more of the same? Are we going to see more of him, you think, in the second halves of these games? I was saying to JD, a la Elijah Mitchell a few years ago, kind of working as the closer, kind of a bruising back, a different pace guy at the end of games to give McCaffrey a breather, because he shouldered a lot of the load. And even though Robinson was great today, still 28 carries for McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, look at the breakdown on this.
Yeah.
McCaffrey gets 34 touches and Robinson gets 5. I mean, do we want to see Christian McCaffrey in December and January, or do we not want to? I mean, the Niners act like having Christian healthy at the end of the year is just kind of like a bonus. That's your whole season. That's your best chance. It's all wrapped up in that. If I were them, I would dump Garendo and go get yourself a third back that you can actually use. If Kansas City is not going to use Elijah Mitchell, if I was Lynch, I would call and say, I'll give you a 2027, switch. We can flip flop in the 7th round 5 years from now. Give me Elijah Mitchell, because the Niners they've made Garendo up every week, and they don't trust him. They don't use him. I wouldn't use him either, because he's not trustworthy, and he's a developmental player. And they need this is a perfect example of a game. They were up 10 points on the New York Giants in the 4th quarter, and they're still handing the ball to Christian McCaffrey and letting their meal ticket take crushing hits. It's absolutely idiotic, and it needs to be ended. They have to figure out a way to find another back. You can't have there's no free rides. You can't just be on the roster just for giggles. And Garendo's got no role. They ought to get rid of him, go find a third back that they can actually use, because they're looking at some one-sided games in the second half if things break right. They're going to get into more games where they have an 8-point lead or a 10-point lead in the 4th quarter. And think if you could just take 5 to 7 carries off of McCaffrey's plate 5 times, you're taking an entire game off of his plate, which really, you need him healthy at the end of the year. So I would go find another back. In addition,
Krug, we talked a lot about the offense and what the 49ers were able to do. Give me your thoughts on the defense. It was a bad opening series. The Giants go right down and score on them. After the Niners answered, though, punt, 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 and then they get the stop that sets up the field goal that Gano missed right before halftime. After the game was kind of decided, the Giants hit a couple of touchdowns, but what did you see from the 49er defense after that first Giants possession in the first half that allowed for them to seize control of the game once the offense was able to get on the board and get the lead?
Well, I mean, first of all, Tatum Bethune. I mean, I told you guys when he had 10 tackles in that first game, I'm like, dude, 10 tackles is going to be his baseline. That's not even a good game for him. Wait till he really gets rolling. I told you guys he's going to have a 15 tackle game. 16 tackles today for Tatum Bethune. He is awesome. And if there's one thing that just fried my bacon was his clean hit on Jackson Dart on the collarbone, on the shoulder pads. That thing was clean as a whistle. And they officiate the contact and throw the personal foul. That was just absolutely criminal, terrible call by the officials, the wussification of the NFL. But Bethune is playing great, and I thought Winters had a pretty good game. The guys up front are trying like crazy, but they don't have the horses. They have no pass rush. They had 3 hits on the quarterback all day. Dart stood back there and had all day, except he doesn't know how to read coverage, so he really didn't know what to do. And then when he took off to run, there was too many lanes. He had too much space. So I think, I liked what I saw from Stout in that the second series where he had the big play on 3rd down. I thought Renardo was really, really good today. And Bethune was just really special. But, man, they do not impact the quarterback enough. And they're not always going to go against these super raw rookies who can't read the field. I mean, eventually there's going to be some good quarterbacks on their schedule, and they're going to carve up this defense. So they gotta get more up front. I mean, they just didn't have enough up front today. Cleve Farrell, though, I thought looked pretty good. I didn't even notice Keon White. I was trying to find him. I just felt like
what numbers he wear, Krug? I don't even know. I was like
50. He wore 56. Okay. But, I mean, he just got wired to the tackle. I never really saw him get close to the quarterback.
Larry Kruger, the voice you hear weeknight 6 to 7 right here on the Sports Leader Niners Nightly. And the Krug Show, I'm sure he'll be streaming all afternoon long, talking Niners over the Giants, getting ready for the deadline on Tuesday. Krug, great to talk to you, man. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Have a great Sunday.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. We'll take a quick break. We'll get you the injury report when we come on back, and then more on the Trey Hendrickson front, as it was Jay Glazer this morning who reported he is, in fact, available per the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll talk more about that in just a few. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627, the number to call and the number to text. We'll check in on some of these texts as well. The Niners injury report after their 34-24 win over the New York Giants is next on the Sports Leader.
Shotgun snap for Dart. The rookie quarterback back to pass against a four-man rush. Crumbling pocket. Tries to step through. Now just heaves one down the right sideline, and then it drops incomplete. The intended target, Darius Slayton, was 10 yards further down the field.
We got an injury on the field, and it's Michael Williams grabbing at his right knee.
Oh, no.
That is not good.
That's some of the best pressure the Niners had gotten to, and Michael Williams is slapping his helmet from both sides with closed hands.
Bummer today. About 4 minutes remaining in the game. Michael Williams goes down with a knee injury. It was not non-contact, I don't believe, right, JD? Like was he trying to pull Dart down and Dart escaped? Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what it appeared to happen on that play. And just, man,
so
so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Got buckled up on, and he's immediately holding the knee, knows something's up, was able to walk off the field under his own power, and then go right to the blue medical tent where he was further evaluated. And then, Kyle Shanahan after the game saying that the 49ers are worried that it's an ACL injury for Michael Williams. So he was playing well. I thought today was one of his better games, looking at some of the pressure numbers, one of his better games of the season. And it just continues for the 49ers, even when and so often it's been after these big wins, big win, and then you lose somebody that you wish you had here moving forward, especially still with 8 games to go. And it's amazing when you think on the defensive side, and the Niners have not had Brock Purdy in 7 of the first 9 games on the offensive side, but Nick Bosa, then Fred Warner, your 2 most important and impactful defensive players on the roster, and then the third guy to go down potentially with the season ender on the defense is your first-round pick, when you had the highest first-round pick that you've had in, 4 years, going back to the Trey Lance move-up. And now he potentially will have half of his rookie season cut short. Hoping for the best. Hopefully it's not that, but unfortunately the Niners are fearful that it will exactly be that ACL injury for Michael Williams.
We'll find out more about this when he gets some imaging done when they get back to San Francisco, as the Niners won 34-24 over the New York Giants. Michael Williams goes down with a knee injury with about 4 minutes remaining, and just devastating yet again for the 49er defense, who cannot catch a break. I mean, the team itself can't catch a break. Still no Pearsall, still no Ayuk. Brock Purdy, as you pointed out, has been out, but potentially could return against the LA Rams, who lead it right now. They're, by the way, down at like the 2-yard line. Oh, no, they just got backed up. So they're up 20-3 right now. 1:09 to play in the first half. By the way, that injury report on Michael Williams was sponsored by Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit habaslaw.com. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. The number to call and to text. On the heels of that, I want to talk about this Jay Glazer report this morning. And now David Lombardi of the SF Standard also reporting that Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals is in fact available. The Bengals coughed a game today that they had a chance to win against the Chicago Bears. The Bears tried to give it away. Ultimately, they win. The Bengals are playing themselves out of playoff contention and could be looking to recoup some draft picks after not reaching an agreement with Trey Hendrickson before the start of the season. We'll talk more about that next, and we'll hear Jay Glazer's report from this morning. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson. The Niners are 6-3, but they keep losing players. More to come on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you following the 49er victory over the Giants. 34-24, high water mark of the season in terms of points scored, and they needed it as the Giants did not go down without a fight. Back-to-back drives to end the game with touchdowns, which I'm sure Robert Saleh is not thrilled about considering how well they played in the first half. 64 yards and a touchdown, 10 plays allowed in the opening drive, and then 4 consecutive punts before the 49ers turned the ball over at the end of the first half. 4 plays do the Giants run. They get no yards. So they clamp down, or 3 plays, I should say. Niners clamp down. The Giants then attempt a field goal after not gaining anything. They miss a 45-yard field goal. Graham Gano's first miss of the season. Niners get the ball back to start the second half, and they go on a bit of a run there. 46 yards and a field goal. They punt their first 3 and out of the game. Their only 3 and out of the game came in the second quarter, and then back-to-back touchdowns there to wrap it up, 34-24. They may have lost Michael Williams for the season, is the bad news here. He goes down with about 4 minutes left, holding his knee. They fear it's an ACL, said Kyle Shanahan. Here's what Jay Glazer, insider for Fox Sports, he said this morning when they were getting ready for their Fox broadcast on the pregame shows this morning. It's been thought that Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals, who signed a 1-year deal before the season, after not reaching a contract extension or agreement, was not going to be available. The Bengals were holding on to him, holding on. The deadline now is Tuesday. The Bengals lost earlier today to the Chicago Bears in a thrilling finish where the Bengals had a chance to win the game there. They ended up blowing it, giving it up to the Bears. The Bears ended up winning. They gave up 47 points, did Cincinnati, 47-42 Chicago. Here's what Jay Glazer had to say, insider for Fox Sports, about the availability now of pass rusher Trey Hendrickson.
What about Trey Hendrickson? I know that originally they said no, but is that changing?
So they did say no originally. And then the last couple of days, a bunch of GMs said, hey, you better check this out, because now they're saying yes to us, right? And, whether or not they can get what they're looking for, I don't know about that. But it seemed like a hard no about a week or so ago, and now it's not.
There you go. So he's potentially available here. The asking price is going to be a second or a third. He is a free agent at the end of this year, and he's going to get a huge contract when he hits free agency. So what's interesting is Larry was making some points. If you're a 49er fan, you're like, dude, you may not have, you only got 6 wins all last year. You get 6 right now. You got a chance still to win the division with a victory over the Rams next week. That could put you in a really, really good position to go do that, where you'd own the tiebreak outright against a team that's the favorite to win the West. Now, if you give up a second rounder, you are, in fact, mortgaging the future. I think we'd all agree the Niners aren't one player away. That said, there is something to be said about being in it and going for it. And Larry made a good point there where he said, it's not like there's anybody who's a world beater. Philadelphia looks really good, but they lost to this Giants team like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. So they're not, there's not any team seemingly in the NFC that is an unbeatable team or is running away with the conference. There's no Kansas City Chiefs or Buffalo Bills in my mind in the NFC. The Eagles are probably the closest thing. The Packers fell today to the Carolina Panthers, who the Niners will see. The Rams look like one of the top teams in the NFC. Washington is not what they were last year. The Lions went down today to the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy. So where are you on this, J.D.? Should they be in the conversation, or are you on the side of Larry where you say go get 2 players for what you might have to give up for Hendrickson?
I could see them going and getting multiple players. I don't think they're going to be the ilk of Trey Hendrickson. I think he would be a perfect fit. We haven't, at least on this show, I don't think we've talked about him a ton really in the last month because, one, the Bengals were reportedly not open to trading him at that point, and 2, it just seems like the asking price will be too high for what the 49ers are looking to spend. I think a day 2 pick at minimum for the 49ers in terms of a second or a third rounder. Again, all that being said, though, I think he would be, from a purely football standpoint, an absolutely perfect fit. But to your point, the Niners may be in a position where they believe they might need to upgrade in terms of lesser overall talent, but at a couple of positions now. And I think you could make the case that they need to add another interior defensive lineman with the Michael Williams injury, in addition to potentially a pass rusher. So I just don't see how they're going to get it done. And I do think Hendrickson's going to get moved. because the Bengals are not going to want to pay him, and they are cooked. They got beat by the Jets last week. You talked about the game they lost today against the Bears at home, so they thought maybe they were going to be in it after they beat the Steelers, but they're not going to be in it at this point anymore. So I do think Hendrickson gets moved, but I think he's going to wind up getting moved elsewhere unless that price keeps coming down to a point to where the Niners can justify it. But I think I just don't see that. I think that the Bengals will move him, and I think they'll get a day 2 type pick, which is probably going to be more than the 49ers are going to want to spend.
I'm with you. And my thing is this, is we know the 49ers are going to have to be in the market for a lot. I think this next draft is going to be more D tackles, but I think it's going to be the O-line draft. At some point, you got to start planning for life after Trent Williams. And as Larry was saying, how many of these guys, the big-time talent players, are going to be here in 3 years? You got to start preparing for some of these big-time contracts to fall off the roster and to be able to replace the talent that they give you. So, for a player who's going to walk away likely at the end of this year, I can't imagine that's the path you go. And again, they're not one player away, but he's the type of player that could change your fortunes if you landed him. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm on the fence here where part of me thinks, going in at 6 wins right now could be intriguing. You get him in this week, even potentially, if on a trade. You get him in by like Wednesday or Thursday. He's playing Sunday against the Rams. That's the case with just about anybody, as you saw with White today, with Keon White. So I'm on the side of probably no. I'd rather get more players if you could. I'd rather go add a couple of pieces and maybe one of them controllable beyond this season. He might, though, Hendrickson, be the best option to make a Super Bowl run. I don't think this team right now is talented enough, and there are too many holes and questions. But if there were somebody out there that would potentially make you a contender, that would be the guy.
And I think the other part of this, too, is if you say you're not a Super Bowl contender with Hendrickson in going out and getting him, I think the other question you have to ask, and I'll ask you this, you may not be a Super Bowl contender if you get him, but do you think the 49ers as is or with another middling type move are they're definitely a playoff contender? And so I guess my question is, if you do nothing or do a small move, do you still believe you're a playoff contender? I would answer that as yes. They are a playoff contender, can get to 10, can get in, as is or with a minimal move. If you don't think you're a Super Bowl contender, but you do think you're still a playoff contender pretty close to as is, I think the 6-3 in some ways almost guarantees that you're a contender. Whether you have enough to get over the hump or not would remain to be seen. But if you're answering those two questions in that way, I think it real quickly becomes extraordinarily clear the path that the 49ers would look to choose here, as much as they are really skulking around the entire NFL landscape right now to try and look to add where they can.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you, 34-24, the final. The Niners over the New York Giants. They're coming home to take on the Rams next week at 6-3 in what will be, to this point, the game of the season. When we look at where the schedule is now, you said this last week, JD, and I keep thinking about it, there's not a lot of gimme games or games you should win where you go, that's one that they should absolutely have. I think we agreed the Tennessee Titans are the one where you look at and go, that's a game that they should absolutely win, kind of regardless of who's out there. If we look at the next 8, they got 8 to play, right? 9 games in, 8 games to play. How many of these games are gimmies in general? We'll look at that schedule next, and we'll do that. Let's get you the player of the game, sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. We went difference maker earlier. You said it was Mac Jones for you. Who's your player of the game, JD?
I would give that to Christian McCaffrey, I think, when you look at the overall numbers. And I mean, McCaffrey is just – he's having a hell of a year, even though it seems in some ways, because he hasn't been as explosive, that maybe he's not having a great year. If this is an off, really good year for Christian McCaffrey, I mean, my goodness, it's another indicator of just what a freaking talent he is. But, yeah, to me, McCaffrey, 28 for 106 on the ground, and then they throw it to him 5 more times for 67 yards. I mean, is he going to have a 1,000 season?
It's on the table.
Receiving, and
it always is.
I mean, if incredibly, if he has that, I mean, that is a truly special offensive season if he could get to that point. But, yeah, 106 on the ground and then 67 in terms of the receiving. I'd have to go CMC.
We'll take a quick break. When we come on back, we'll take a look at the schedule. And are there other games that has your scope of the schedule changed? I mean, I think we're out of the easiest or softest schedule, last place schedule territory now that we're 9 games in. Teams are kind of rounding into who they are, and some of these teams look like much more difficult battles for the 49ers than we thought they would be at the start of the year. We'll talk more about that next. The Niners over the Giants 34-24. They're 6-3. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you on The Sports Leader.
Yeah, this is a big one for us, and we talked about it yesterday after practice. Just talking to the team, like this is a big one. Having played, 5 years in the NFL now, and you really have to look at this game as like a playoff game almost. And I feel like we answered the bell there. Like I said, all 1 of 33. That's what we talk about, and everyone's got to be on the same page. So we definitely answered the bell, but the challenge is don't be complacent, and we got to do it again next week. So that's the goal.
As Mac Jones. After the Niners' 34-24 victory, I'd say they answered the bell. It was, I didn't quite think of it as a playoff game. I think it was important that they did in terms of coming home at 6-3 versus 5-4 in an NFC matchup. Earlier in the year, I told you week 4, that first loss they had to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I said, if you're going to lose one, this is one that doesn't stink. I don't really feel like in terms of where they were, because they were 2-0 in the division at that point. I said it's an AFC opponent, AFC South opponent. It may not come into play in terms of tiebreak or anything like that if you handle business in the division. An NFC game, all the more important to win this one for some common opponents and against another NFC opponent even out of your division, considering that they could be in a tiebreak battle for a playoff spot. But a big win for the Niners today. And, until the end of the game, I thought the defense played pretty damn good until the 9th and 10th drives where they gave up back-to-back touchdowns to the Giants when the Niners offense kept kind of putting it away. The defense did everything in their power to make sure the offense could get humming like they did in the second half. But in the first half, it was all about the defense, in my mind, getting off the field on third down.
Yeah, it was, and the defense set the tone there. In the end, I'm not too worried about that. I think this defense, given the players that are out, once the game is in control. I mean, we were talking about a 3-score game going down to basically a 2-score game, and the Niners offense was able to get it back to a 3-score game. So I just don't think this defense is going to be dominant, especially on the road, really against anybody. But I thought they did the job. The other thing, just quickly on the Giants game, and I'm with you. I mean, I think the fact that they believed it was an important game and a playoff game is tremendous, because this is one of the easy schedule games. We talk about the easy schedule. Well, it really equates to, some of it is you're playing the South and the South, both of those divisions, the AFC South and the NFC South this season. The AFC South hasn't quite been what you would have thought, with the Colts still to come, and you've already lost to the Jags and the Texans. But the 3 games on the schedule that are the true, hey, you were a 4th place team, you play another 4th place team, are the Giants today, the Bears game in December, and the Browns game coming up on November 30th, 4 weeks from today. So these are the games where the Rams played the Eagles out of the NFC East, and the 49ers are going to get to play the Browns, and you've had the Rams played the Ravens and all those things. So, and obviously this is not the best year for the Ravens, so it didn't necessarily work out. It doesn't always necessarily work out right down the line there. But winning the game against the Giants and winning a game against the Browns potentially down the line, although I don't think that's going to be a picnic because of the Browns' defense, and then getting that game against Chicago at the end of the year, it really is the pathway, as we laid out last week, even after the loss to the Texans, this pathway for the Niners Copes to still get to 10 wins. Today, for me, was part of it. I don't have the Rams game factoring into that equation. That's one that I think you could objectively lose. But as long as you can get 2 out of 3, Arizona on the road following that. The Carolina game, I think, is the one you really got to get at home.
That's a Monday night Thanksgiving week,
Yep, and then the Browns game on a short week going to Cleveland. To me, you get 2 out of 3 there after you get today, and then you make sure at the end of the year you get the Tennessee game and you get the home game against the Bears, and you're at 10 right there. And that's without even talking about Indy or Seattle or the Rams game, and it even gives you a game that you could drop between one of those 3 with the Cleveland game and the Carolina game and the Arizona game coming up in the final 3 in November. So there is still a pathway that isn't super tight, I think, for the Niners to, at a minimum, get to 10. You start beating maybe some of these other better teams, and maybe it winds up being even better than that. Getting those wins obviously can offset if you slip up at some point along the way. And again, it's not so much about opponent, I feel like, for the Niners, as it is about the individual matchup. And I think the Giants, with the young quarterback and their inability to stop the run, and the fact that their season has kind of gone awry here in the last couple of weeks after it looked like maybe they were going to make something out of it, I think led to this being a great bounce-back opponent for the Niners.
Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners win it 34-24. The next 2 games, division games. You'll get the game at home against the Rams, and then on the road at Arizona, and then you'll be done with those 2 teams, and then one more division game for the remainder of the season. It's Week 18 against Seattle in San Francisco, at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. We'll take a quick break. When we come on back, a little bit more on this game. We'll get you the drive of the game as well. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson. The Niners win it 34-24. More to come. They're 6-3 on the Sports Leader.
Mac's doing a great job about seeing the field, and when 8 guys catch the ball, that means that Coach Shanahan has trust and belief into 8 guys and multiple guys on our offense, which is good. It's better when we spread the ball around and not just force feeding 1 or 2 guys. Like Christian's going to get his, whatever, his reps or, his touches. But when you can give the ball to other guys and they're continually making plays and guys are selfless about it, like no one's complaining like, oh, I only got 2 targets a day. But hey, if you catch those 2 targets, you're moving on. That's a great way to have a healthy offense and a way to, hey, score. What do we have today? 34? Love it. Love 34 points.
It's George Kittle there, undoubtedly. 34 points, sounds good, feels good. 8 different players caught a pass from Mac Jones today, who started 14 of 14, but it was all about the run game. 39 total carries for the 49ers today, and they're now 57-8 under Kyle Shanahan when they run the ball more than 30 times. For me, it was the put-away drive of the game that was, in fact, the drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda, more than just a car dealership. We're family. I'm going to go drive of the game for me, JD, was the Brian Robinson sort of truck stick touchdown. 9 plays, 76 yards, and a touchdown. They ended the third quarter with 8 consecutive runs. I think they got up to 9 straight runs before Robinson punches one in and they march downfield, and he gets in 3 straight carries for him. He went over 10 yards per carry and had a nice kick return. It sounded like this getting into the end zone.
He's still the back. He gets the carry up the middle. It's all run for the Niners on this drive, and he trucks a defender at the 10, and along the right numbers, just gallops into the end zone for a touchdown. They stood no chance against Brian Robinson Jr., who extends the 49ers lead 26-10 with 11:35 to play, fourth quarter. Look out.
What do you make of the McCaffrey usage, JD? Because I keep bringing up the Brian Robinson performance today. You said something earlier. We said, I'm not sure if it was just game plan or matchup based or anything like that, but he's seemingly getting more comfortable. And he's had games where he's carried it, 8-9 times and hasn't had nearly as much success. But none of the 49ers did, Christian McCaffrey included, right? Even early in the year, in terms of what they were doing yards per carry on the ground. So what McCaffrey's been able to do in these games, pair that with Brian Robinson. I mean, I don't know if this is something we start to see more and more of, but I was concerned early on about the usage of McCaffrey. Even today, 28 carries, 34 total touches for him. I mean, he's going to lead the league in touches, may lead the league again in scrimmage yards. Just where are you on the usage? Because Krug said, the Niners are operating like they'll just be lucky if he's healthy at the end of the year, but that's not how they can go about it.
I'm going to say what I always say. I think the Niners need to use him pretty close to the level that they're using him. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to win games. And we've seen what happens when
Christian
they don't have
McCaffrey,
him, and I get it. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. I think we've seen what happens when they don't have him, and I understand the thought, well, if you don't have, you're more apt to not have him if you continue using him at this rate. But I just don't think the 49ers, you put a little truth serum into Kyle Shanahan, and I just don't think he thinks that they can win if they're not giving the football to Christian McCaffrey at this level. I just feel like you can't have your cake and eat it too with respect to have him be this dominant, impactful player, but then also, you know what, got it so dialed, we'll just let's give Robinson 15 carries because we want to give McCaffrey 20 or limit him to the maybe the high teens or something like that, and then all of a sudden maybe you're not picking up a couple of first downs and you find yourself really having to fight and scrap down the stretch in this game just to hang on and win it. So I understand all of the concern, but I think especially when you look at how fragile the remainder of this season is for the Niners, that's more of a statement to just keep rolling with your best players and letting the chips fall where you may, because if you lose some of these games, because McCaffrey touches it less, it's not going to matter in the end whether McCaffrey's touching it at all, because your season's going to be in a position where you're not going to be a playoff team at that particular point.
It's kind of funny. There's a couple of games here, and I'm with you on the McCaffrey stuff. Somebody here says, also on the text line, 916 checks in at 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 says, Christian McCaffrey's a thoroughbred, and you don't rest thoroughbreds. It's kind of the point you're making here is they'll go as far as Christian McCaffrey will carry them. I thought that put-away drive of the game, or that one was them going back up to 27-10 at that point. It's a 3-score game. They were consistently then at that point moving the ball downfield. Then their next drive, 60 yards, where McCaffrey had 50 of them after the 39-yard scamper up the sideline before he punches it in for 6 more. The other drives of the game for me, the opening drive for the Niners, which we talked about, they had to answer there and pick up that first down on 4th and 1 on their own 41. They get the Mac Jones sneak. They keep the drive going, kind of quieted the crowd, and then they end up going down and punching one in to tie the game at 7. But the other one for me that was huge was the defensive stand on the field goal. after Kyle Shanahan decided they were going to throw it with 38 seconds left to try to get more points. I mean, did you think that was too aggressive? I mean, people sometimes think Kyle's a little conservative. I thought it was a bit aggressive to be throwing with 38 seconds left, already up. What was it at that point? 17-7 or something
you're
like
up
that?
17-7.
And so at that point,
you're up 17-7.
And you're getting the ball back in 30 seconds.
And usually all Kyle wants is to make sure that you can possess the ball last there. So you would think that he would run it, but no, I think it was he got greedy.
Yeah,
he got greedy there. I think looking for maybe a home run ending to that half, and then going and scoring again. And to really maybe turn it into a blowout at the beginning of the second half. No, all of those are great calls, though, Copes. I'm with you 100% on all of that. I do think the number one drive of the game was the put away. I think that answering drive on the first offensive possession was massive, and I'm with you on the defense. That was the one spot in the game where you could have seen it get weird. It reminded me of the game in New Orleans where there was that turnover, and then all of a sudden the game just felt closer than it should be, and then the Saints had a chance to win it late before the Niners got the big stop. The Giants not scoring there right before the half, I think, allowed for a much more comfortable second half in this one by comparison.
The Niners win it 34-24. George Kittle's hit 34 points. Nice. I like that. 34. Their high water mark of the season. They needed every one of them today to put away the Giants. 34-24 the final. They come home 6-3. The Rams right now, by the way, 9:51 to play in the third quarter at home at SoFi against the New Orleans Saints. They're up 20-10. All right, we'll wrap things up when we come on back. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson, the Niners win it 34-24, 6-3 on the Sports Leader.
think Christian's always been pretty durable. You know, I mean, I think last year he had something that bothered him in the offseason that never fully went away. And when it finally did get better, he tore his knee on a random run versus Buffalo. So if you ask Christian, and I agree, Christian's always been a very durable player, but when you get bad injuries on stuff, then that affects guys and you miss the year. So Christian is the most conditioned, prepared athlete I've ever been around. He's such a big factor in blocking, running, passing. He's one of the best players I've ever been around. So I'd like to say he figured something out, but I mean, the guy goes as hard as he can every offseason, so there's not much more to figure out.
It's wildly impressive, Kyle Shanahan on Christian McCaffrey, that for the amount of time he missed last year, running backs just don't do what McCaffrey's doing, where you miss time like that for an injury, that he had the bilateral Achilles tendonitis, and then come back and perform the way he has through 9 games so far this season. 34 touches today for Christian McCaffrey, 28 on the ground, 106 and a touchdown, 5 catches on 6 targets for 67 and a touchdown. Adam Copeland, John Dickinson with you. The Niners have beaten the New York Giants 34-24. Brian Daboll's Giants fall to 2-7. His first year there, he was 7-2 after 9 games. In each season since, he started the first 9, 2-7. The Niners are 6-3. JD, you just sent me a note from Nick Wagner on Mac Jones. Go ahead and read that note to me, just real quick before we get out.
Yeah, just a couple of numbers via Nick Wagner. Jones was pressured on just 5 of 28 dropbacks, second lowest percentage of him being pressured in any game that he's played with the 49ers. He was 17 for 22 for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns when not under duress. Wow. So when not pressured, the Niners are 4-0 when Jones is pressured less than 25% of the time on his dropbacks. So pressure has been something that when it's come, he's been able to handle it, but teams haven't brought a lot. And when they haven't brought a lot, it's been beneficial to the 49ers. Just 5 pressures today.
That's incredible. Good offensive line play, which is what we talked about. I said that was kind of my player to watch and what needed to change today relative to last week. And after that opening drive, it was like, boy, they better protect today. They're going to need the points. The Niners win at 34-24. Stay tuned to KNBR all week long. I'll be back with you tomorrow from 2 to 6 with Dirty Work. And then we've got our 49er tailgate, by the way, next Friday at Jack's Restaurant in San Jose ahead of the Niners and the Rams. Biggest game of the season is coming week 10 here. The Niners with a chance to sweep the Rams, and we'll find out about the injury to Michael Williams. Is it season-ending with an ACL? That's what Kyle Shanahan said they feared. And then we'll see if Brock Purdy is, in fact, able to return this week as he is inching closer, they say, to coming back. But no major progress updates. We'll find out this week if Brock is, in fact, able to go. Thanks to our sound editors today, Chips McCarthy and Anthony Garcia. Our board operator today, Kyle Hart. Our producer, Tim Webb. For John Dickinson, Adam Copeland signing off on the Sports Leader here with the Niners have beaten the New York Giants 34-24. They are coming home at 6-3, and it's only here